Hi Aries, welcome to your October 2016 General Tarot Reading. As I was saying to some of the other signs, I do my love readings separately. And this is a general reading, so if you have an opinion of whether or not I should just do one type of reading, please put it in the comments section below. I have been doing separate love readings, and I have one up for Aries, so you can check my channel for that one. It all depends on the cards that I draw, and the reason I was thinking of going back to just a general reading is because sometimes it seems more obviously situated around one particular focus for the month, and I don't want to be contrived and just kind of just make it into being a love reading if it seems more business. And it's so funny because the first card, it seemed to set the tone for some kind of romantic situation, and I already did your love reading, but I have to go with, you know, when I see a general situation. I mean, this right now I gotta tell you, and I hope this is not too redundant for the love reading crowd, because it really seems totally like a love reading again. And it would be interesting to compare it to the October love reading for Aries. But it seems specifically for those of you going through divorces. What I feel, and I'll talk about the individual cards, I just get an instantaneous feeling that some people may have possibly, it can be, you know, more than one possibility, obviously, but one interpretation could be that you fell in love with somebody else. And maybe, you know, I'm talking about you being in a marriage or long-term committed partnership, and fell in love with somebody else, and it destroyed your marriage. Okay. And maybe now you are sneaking around. Maybe you promised your spouse that you would quit that person and you haven't. The other possibility is that it was done to you. Your partner left you for somebody else, and now you feel like you can't trust them. Okay? The overall theme is one of grief, of feeling dejected, feeling like you are unloved. These are cups, and the cups have spilled, at least 3 out of the 5 of them. And you see that the substance looks like blood. So it's almost like this kind of thing where you've been bled dry emotionally from this situation. And you're mourning the loss of something. So if I were to, you know, make a determination, I would say that maybe you were the one that got cheated on, more likely, because it's the contrast couldn't be more startling between that card and the recent past, which is the Sun card. This is the card of falling in love. This is the card of feeling like everything is going your way. It's you know, it's a good possibility this is the most positive card in the deck. Very possible. So somebody fell in love. Somebody, you know, had their dream come true when it came to something, and now they are feeling like it's not happening. So it could be that, you know, you thought, you know, there's also the possibility that you know, told your spouse, and because you thought that this other person was going to commit, and then they didn't leave their spouse. Maybe you're both connected, and you left and they didn't, so you're left holding the bag, so to speak. Because this is a real sketchy kind of an energy. This is like somebody slinking around. And so this isn't something that is straightforward. Sometimes this can mean that somebody is, kind of going it alone and doing their own thing. That's always a possibility. And it can also mean somebody like really kind of scheming or planning how they're going to get out of a difficult situation. But a lot of times I feel like it's more of a deceptive kind of an energy, because it's the number 7, I think it might connect to Neptune, but it's definitely something that where one person might be taking advantage of the other. And so the overall theme is this sense of dejection. But if you see that there are 2 cups that are still upright, the person may be looking at the glass half empty instead of half full, and focusing on that aspect of it. And I think that in any situation, even the most dire, it's always like good to see what is gained, even when it's so easy to focus on loss and not say, okay, well, what's the upside of this? And typically you are that kind of person where you will see that and be very positive and very just upbeat and proactive about anything. And so that's kind of like a saving grace. But it could be that you got your hopes up, and that's what caused, you went from one extreme to the other, where you're feeling like on top of the world, and then all of a sudden it all came crashing down for whatever reason. The higher perspective is the Justice card. So this was one of the reasons why I was thinking in terms of divorce, because it can literally refer to a decision or just even initiating that aspect. But it could be just talking about karma, the law of cause and effect, that these things happen because of things that have happened before, cause and effect. And I think, a perfect analogy of exactly what I'm trying to convey is the idea of someone who gets cheated on. And they're sitting there, maybe they're calling their, I'll just say girlfriends, and, oh my God, he cheated on me, blah, blah, blah. And neglecting to acknowledge that they were disrespectful to this person, they were never there for this person. And some people will always say, well, that's still no excuse. And my answer is, everything has a cause, even cheating. And it's too easy, it's too simplistic to just chalk it up to, well, this person is unethical and this other person is a victim. It just is, that's not how life works. Cause and effect. What was the person looking for when they cheated? Yeah, there are some people who are narcissists, so they're constantly looking for admiration, they're constantly looking for attention. And there are people who are sex addicts, and they constantly need new stimulation through new people. But I would wager that there are many people out there who are cheating because they feel like they are trapped. Maybe they have children, maybe they love their partner, but they don't feel like they are being heard. And just because we explain why people do things that are not necessarily good things doesn't mean we are excusing their behavior. We're trying to explain it and understand it. And so the Justice card is all about saying, you know, if you do certain things, you get certain results. And this applies to both people. I'm not saying that everyone who gets cheated on is, you know, guilty of having, you know, been neglectful in the relationship or what have you. As I say, you know, there are cases where people are just narcissists and they have to feed on attention or what have you. But there are definitely times when people are, you know, not as innocent as they claim to be, where they have contributed to that situation in a very clear way. The what do you call it? The card that crosses you is the Ten of Swords. So in the typical upright position, the Ten of Swords is about a cycle coming to an end. So you could say hitting bottom and the worst is over. And so it can be actually a very good, you know, card of relief that this is the worst it's going to be. So have faith. But in the reverse position or the challenge position, it can be more of an indication that perhaps you're still trying to manipulate things or control things and not accept the inevitability of whatever ending is happening. Again, this could be, you know, this could be a business situation. This could be a situation where you thought you had the perfect job and it turned out to be a big sham, and someone may have, you know, cheated you somehow or at least misrepresented the situation, and you're still trying to make it work. I mean, especially if it's some kind of a partnership where you're like one-on-one or with a small group of people, you still might be trusting them and trying to make it work. And, you know, it really is over. And the sooner that you can accept that, the better. The attitude that you need to adopt, and I think this would even possibly be you in terms of an astrological connection, is the King of Wands. You know, wands relate to fire signs. So this is the king. So this is the most together or controlled, mature version of the wands. So it's much more, it can be fiery, but it can be very constructive. Not all over the map like the Knight of Wands, you know. Very, you know, like the Knight of Wands is like a forest fire. It's just totally burning up everything in sight. But the King of Wands is like a campfire that is there to serve a purpose, and but it still is very controlled and contained, and it's constructive. This definitely can be a take charge kind of a mentality that you need to adopt. It could be that you've gotten thrown off by something. Maybe it's a water sign individual who has, you know, if you're the one that has broken their heart, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and maybe you have fallen in love with a Leo. That's always a possibility. But it could be that, you know, you are, you know, for some of you men, it could be something to do with a custody issue surrounding a child, and that's where the justice system comes in. Maybe it's saying you need to step up and be a father, and don't allow someone to tell you that you have no rights, you know, especially if you feel like you're being marginalized. You might have to do that. But remember to be the King of Wands. Don't be the Knight of Wands. You know, Aries is a very spontaneous energy. The negative version of spontaneity is, rashness. And rash behavior comes when you're not thinking first. And rash emotions can be, emotions that are very undisciplined. This is both your greatest charm as well as your greatest liability, because, Aries is known as having a temper because of that instantaneous reactive nature. But also because you're so freaking impatient. You want everything yesterday. So the King of Wands is on top of that. And if there is some kind of an issue, and if it's surrounding a legal battle, or like a case, a custody case, you don't have to get upset. Just let the authorities handle it and keep your cool. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do, and still remain passionate about what it is that you're going after. The advice is the Eight of Cups. So right underneath the Ten of Swords, we have the Eight of Cups, walking away from what no longer serves you. And it's almost like a spiritual quest. It's like looking at your life as more than just getting up and going to work. But what is feeding my soul? Is this feeding my soul, or am I just going through the motions? Aries does not want to go through the motions, that's for sure. But unfortunately, Aries people can confuse drama with passion. And they can fall prey to getting involved in relationships that are very chaotic in order to satisfy that need for excitement. And the unfortunate consequence of that is a lot of chaos, a lot of broken hearts, and disillusionment. And sometimes children come into the mix, and that makes it even that much sadder. This could be a water sign that you're walking away from. Again, that would be a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces individual, and you realize it just is not going to work. You're much better off if there is a fire sign, especially a Leo, because the sun in the recent past represents the sign of Leo. And it doesn't have to be their sun sign, but it definitely could with that King of Wands. There's an emphasis on fire for you. I had said this to Cancer, I think, about Aries. There is a basic lack of understanding between signs like Aries and Cancer, where the Cancer person feels the Aries person is too insensitive, brusque, just egocentric. And the Aries person feels that they have to walk on eggshells around the Cancer person because they're constantly getting offended by everything. So that could be the kind of scenario that makes you walk. The outcome is the Six of Pentacles. You see the scales of justice. This can be simply looking for a relationship that's on more of an equal footing. If you felt like you were being taken advantage of by somebody, even financially especially, because this is Pentacles, it could relate specifically to, a grifter in your life. So why do I have to pick on Pisces? Because I immediately went to Pisces with the grifter. Out of the three signs, I could see that with Pisces, because Pisces can be a dependent personality. And that's what they sometimes do when they feel disempowered, is kind of attach themselves to somebody else who is stronger in their eyes. But this is going to be you in a more equal footing with somebody, but it could relate to issues surrounding, I was going to say alimony, but that's kind of an outdated idea. More of a decision with distribution of assets. And it's in the upright position, so I think that it's going to be fair for all concerned. I realize that this may be a reading that only some of you can relate to, maybe only a small amount of Aries people. I hope that at least one card spoke to all of you in some way. If you'd like a private reading where I do look at your birth chart, which is determined by the moment you're born, along with the tarot, please click on the link below this video that goes to my website, where you can see what type of readings. I have all kinds of readings. But in any case, either way, I wish you a wonderful October, Aries, and take care of yourself. Bye.